What's up, guys? So today we're going to discuss about the best methods you can use to basically look at how your money is spent and manage your money. So there's a lot of different methods out there, and you come think about it, this is basically a conflict of interest between yourself. So for example, if you go out and get food and you say you want to save money, but you want to eat at home, and at the same time is you don't want to do it. You still go out and spend that money to go out and eat really nice restaurants. The conflict of interest there is looking at you internally fighting with yourself, telling you to cook at home, but at the same time, you might just go out and eat because it's so much easier. And at the same time, is you go and eat, it always tastes better than you cooking at home. But when you put it that way, is the best example is looking at telling someone to stop smoking. So have you ever had a grandparents or including yourself where is vaping or smoking using cigars or cigarettes, and you try to tell yourself, I'm going to quit by the next day. I am going to stop smoking. I'm going to stop going to the convenience store to buy a pack of cigs. And at the same time, most of the time they cannot quit. They usually have to get some type of psychological treatment or some type of doctor aid. This is same thing applies to managing your money. It's easier said than done. So when I see other people's videos showing different methods to manage your money, I find it really interesting. And this applies different from everyone. For example, there are times that I cannot manage my own money and I have to go to extreme drastic measures to force myself to stop spending money on that specific item or subscription. So when you look at these methods, they're pretty interesting, and at the same time you can say, oh, I manage my money really well. Oh, that's really like idiotic. Why would someone do something like this? And you think about it, what happens if you're in their shoes? For example, someone who, like I mentioned earlier, can't stop smoking. What would you do if you were them? So I'm open to all ideas, and I take a look what methods that people use. And personally, these type of methods, I find them really intriguing because they all have their types of benefits. Because the whole point is to get yourself to stop doing something is to slowly move away from it. As I mentioned in previous videos, to investing, managing your money, you slowly invest into it. You don't throw all your money into it at once, because you throw all your money into it at once, then you gotta feel that drastic pinch or that emotional change. That like, oh my god, I need to go out and eat. Oh my god, I need to use that money, but I don't have any in my wallet. Oh, I threw too much in investing. So the best way to do it is to move in gradually. For example, you guys clicking the subscribe button down below and the like button. So when you guys continue watching my videos, I can produce more content that relates to finances. So let's look at a couple of methods that people use to manage your money and use my own methods, which I can share on here. Because at the end, these are all methods that work and attain to different types of people and also attains to certain circumstances. So the first one I have heard of is money stuffing. Apparently Generation Z, putting on TikTok, they like to stuff their money into envelopes. So imagine you have a couple envelopes. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you have envelopes going money into there. Put it in cash. So you get a paycheck. Let's assume your paycheck's $10,000. They stuff their $10,000 within these 5 envelopes. These 5 envelopes can range from like food expenses, maybe you have your fun expenses going out to eat, and you can break it down and list even more. But let's keep it generalized. So you look at food expenses, fun expenses, emergency services, or any emergency income, which online people say about 3 months, 3 to 6 months. Personally, depending on the person, I would put myself at 6 months to a year because how slow I get into things. That might not apply to everyone, but a lot of people say 3. I personally disagree. That will vary based on you. Then you have the last 2 envelopes, which will gear towards other different types of expenses. For example, property taxes, taxes you have to pay, maybe subscriptions you have to pay. They could be all categorized together. It really depends on you. But the main point is stuffing cash into envelopes. So I see there's a positive and a negative both sides. It's like basically instead of using your credit card, why just use cash? And there's arguments saying that if you use cash, you will not be able to build a credit score, which is actually not true. You can still build a credit score using cash because there's other different type of payments where you still have to pay. For example, your property tax bill or other types of bills. Sometimes there are like money orders, which you still have to pay if you don't have a card. And there's another way to build a line of credit. So it's not 100% true that if you pay everything by cash, you cannot build credit. You can still build credit, but you're just severely limiting yourself in types of methods of payment. Personally, if you're gonna do it that way, just like use your credit card and only set it for basic necessities. For example, pay off your taxes, maybe pay your insurance premiums, maybe your car loan, house loan. Just use it for those, and don't use it for anything else. For example, going out to eat, then don't use those if you can't control yourself. Because in the end, managing your money is all about controlling yourself preventing yourself from overspending. So the cash envelope method is recommended by Gen Zers. Apparently that's a trend. And personally, I don't see that myself, but apparently it's a thing. And I think it's actually pretty interesting. Stuffing your cash in an envelope. Personally, I would just like take the credit card, put it away, and just put cash in the wallet. Like you get $10,000, you have it in a bank, just take some out from your wallet and just use it for that for a week. For example, you want to cut your spending instead of using $500 a week for a whole entire week, cut it down to like $400, $300. Personally, you can just do it that way. If you do it that way, it'll be a lot easier. Now, looking at stuffing cash into envelopes. The second method, what you can do is, I find this one's pretty extreme. I actually tried it out myself, is open multiple bank accounts. Yes, you heard me correctly. So when you open a bank account, you have your checkings and you have your savings. Sometimes you can just open your checking only. You can open multiple checking accounts. And of course, your bankers got look at you like, why? Because you need a minimum of between $1,000, like, so, well, depending on the bank, like $500 to $1,500 into the bank before you initiate the opening. And of course, if you want to go through that extreme method, because at the end, it's all about you. How are you going to manage it? If you're going to open, like, for example, like I mentioned, 5 bank accounts, I tried it out myself before, and it was an interesting experience. And looking at it, would I do it again? 50-50, depending on the situation. If I ever end up in a situation where I can't manage or control myself, then yeah, you can go through the hassle and do it that way. So 5 bank accounts, so you have 1 card for each. So you get your paycheck, goes to your main account. Well, technically at this point, you might be, well, you could make it 6. Like you have your main account for money only goes in, and you take that money, and you take your money and sell it over to all the other accounts. You could do something like that. It's pretty extreme, but yeah, that's another way to manage your money. And take those debit cards and put it away somewhere else where it's only meant to manage whatever types of expenses. That's another way to manage your money. That is pretty extreme, in my opinion. And when I tried it out myself, I only lasted about a couple months. I'd say about 4 months at most, because to me, that was an overkill. I'd rather just take cash out and just put it in your wallet and call it a day. And of course, going down to number 3, this one is pretty interesting too, because I see my own family members are actually using this. And especially for the younger generation, they're starting to use something called money management apps or cash apps. Not the ones you pay money or move money out, it's the ones you can manage in an app. For example, you can look at Intuit. Intuit makes apps. For example, the ones that use QuickBooks and make QBO, QuickBooks Online, they have cash apps like that. And you can use basically apps on your phone, for example, from NerdWallet. Basically, all these apps do is use to track your data expenses. They make it easier to put on your phone. So you pull out your phone, get your paycheck, you put it in all the numbers, and you make it really easy and convenient for you, which is pretty interesting. But the only drawback to those I see is sometimes they could ask for you for subscriptions. So you got to be careful on those. When you're using those apps, sometimes like, hey, you want to manage your money better, you got to pay like 99 cents for this app or $1 a month for this app. And yeah, $1 a month is nothing, but the whole point is for you to manage money. Because you think about it, those apps are there to make money. Why would they create those apps? So people like us would use it, and eventually they find they need something better, and it will make us spend money for it. So you got to keep in mind for those. So personally, I find those pretty interesting on the phone to manage your money, but honestly, there's better ways than that. So we went from using your cash stuff in envelopes, ones you can just put money in your wallet from one bank account and only withdraw a certain amount. You have ones you open a crap ton of bank accounts, and you have ones using cash apps or money managing apps. For example, Intuit, QBO, NerdWallet, the list goes on. I'm not going to name it all. And I think the best one to use is simply go at home in your computer. If you're watching this video, you can click the subscribe button down below, and at the same time, you can get yourself an Excel spread worksheet. It's that easy. If you get an Excel worksheet, all you have to do is put all your data and information in there and keep it in your computer. And if you don't find that safe, then print it out on a piece of paper. This is literally, you can go back to basically the paper and a pen days for over a decade ago. And over the millennia, people used to write and record things on paper and pen. You can do the same thing to manage your money. For example, you bring back $10,000 a month, then you take that $10,000, what do you have to use it for? You got food and expenses, you got tax you have to pay, you got vehicle insurance, and when you list that whole thing down, you can see where all your money going to. Because if you look at where all your expenses going to, then you know what to cut back. Instead of paying money for all these apps and open a bunch of bank accounts like I tried before, you can easily just make an Excel worksheet or just put it on the notepad on your computer, which is free of charge, and inside the comfort of your own home. You could do it that way. And honestly, I prefer that way the most because it's cheap, it's easy, and it's free. But all the other ones, it could be free too. It really based on personal preference at the end. So the whole point of making this video is exploring different ways and methods how people use to manage their money. And people who don't manage their money is, you got couple options there. You got A, they basically are cash poor, but they have a lot of money. For example, you can be a person that makes $500,000 a year. You have a bunch of assets. So your total assets are ranging about $5 million or more. You can be that type of person, but when you need to buy groceries or you need to go out and buy that boba milk tea, you can't afford it because you're called cash poor, meaning is all your money that comes in goes out. You have literally no income or emergency income to spend. That's one scenario you can look at. You have another scenario is all the money you bring in, you cannot even invest it. Because the whole point of this channel is for you to invest and click the subscribe button down below. So all your money comes in and it comes out. And you don't know where it comes out. That's another issue. That's the whole point for these money managing applications and apps and at the same time methods for you to manage your income. It's basically what you're trying to do for these apps is to look where does your money come in and where does your money come out. Once you get a grip on that, then you'll be really good with your finances, which unfortunately, majority of Americans do not understand this and do not invest. And invest, I wouldn't be making these videos because everyone will know what they're doing. But unfortunately, this isn't the case. So these are some methods you can use to manage your money. If you have any other suggestions, comment down below and tell me your story because I really want to know and I really want to try out these methods to see how to perform the task because all their money managing methods, there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing dumb. Because at the end, the whole goal is to see how your money comes in and how your money comes out. And when you understand that formula, the best thing you can do is click that subscribe button down below and it'll make you a millionaire. See you guys next time. Enjoy yourself.